You know that feeling when you're the easy kid, the one who never causes drama, never asks for too much, and always hears, "You're so responsible, honey." Yeah, that was me, Cameron Shaw. So imagine my face, my actual stunned, frozen face, when my parents told me my college fund was gone. Just evaporated. And that's not even the worst part. What hurt more than losing the money was realizing I was never really part of their plans. I used to believe my family was solid, not perfect, we had our messes, but at the end of the day I truly thought love meant something in our house. I was the quiet one, the low-maintenance daughter. I got good grades, worked part-time through high school, helped with groceries, and never complained when Miles, my older brother, got into trouble or needed more attention. Everyone said I was the easy child, and I thought being easy meant being valued. It doesn't. When I got accepted into my dream school, Emerson College, I could barely breathe. I'd spent years building my application, late nights, volunteer hours, essays on top of essays. I even skipped prom to work a shift at the bookstore. That's how bad I wanted it. The tuition was partly covered by scholarships, but I still needed help with housing, books, and fees. Thankfully, there was always the college fund. My parents talked about it my whole life. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Grandpa started a fund when you were born. It's locked away just for you, Cam." That's what they said, every single time. So, when that acceptance letter came in the mail, I was glowing. I remember laying it flat on the kitchen table like it was a golden ticket. I couldn't stop smiling as I waited for their reaction. But then, something shifted. My dad didn't smile. My mum didn't cheer. Instead, they exchanged this weird glance, and my dad let out this long, heavy sigh. "Cameron, about the college fund," he started, his voice soft like he was breaking bad news to a neighbour, not his own daughter. I blinked. "What about it?" "It's gone," he said. "We lost everything in the market crash. We didn't want to tell you before your finals." Gone. Like, gone. Gone? I felt the floor drop out from under me. I looked at my mum. She nodded, her eyes full of that fake sympathy people wear when they know they're lying. My chest tightened, but I tried to keep my voice steady. "So, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do now?" They started throwing out words like community college, student loans, take a gap year. Every word felt like another door slamming shut in my face. No remorse, no plan, just figure it out. That night, I stared at the ceiling in my room, tears soaking into my pillow. Not just because my plans were wrecked, but because something felt off. This wasn't just a tragedy. It felt rehearsed, like I'd been left out of a decision that was never mine to begin with. At the time, I had no idea how deep that betrayal ran. But what I do know is this. Revenge stories? They don't always start with anger. Sometimes they begin with silence. And the slow, aching realization that the people who raised you never really saw you. For the next few days, I floated through the house like a ghost. My parents, they moved on like it was just a minor inconvenience. Mum went to her Pilates class, Dad still played golf that Sunday. Meanwhile, I was upstairs frantically searching scholarship databases and trying to calculate how many textbooks I could afford if I skipped meals. I didn't expect a miracle, but I guess I expected something from them, a hug, a plan, maybe even just a little guilt. Instead, I got silence, and every time I brought up alternatives, they shut it down like it wasn't worth discussing. "You're young, Cameron, you'll figure it out. Lots of kids take gap years, it's normal. Besides, Emerson's not going anywhere." That's the thing about being the good kid. People assume you'll handle it. And I tried. I really did. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore, started selling my old clothes online, even reached out to old teachers for scholarship recommendations. But deep down, something felt wrong. We weren't broke. Our fridge was still stocked. Dad's car still had new tyres. And Miles? My brother, he'd just dropped out of school 6 months ago and somehow was already launching a startup. Where was his money coming from? One afternoon, I overheard him on a call talking about hiring a UX designer. A UX designer? Meanwhile, I was debating between paying for Wi-Fi or a used calculus book. And here's the thing, maybe you've felt it too. That moment when your gut starts whispering, something's not right. Have you ever been in a situation where people told you one thing, but their actions said something completely different? Because that's where I was. Stuck in this strange space where no one was lying outright, but everything felt like a lie anyway. That night I sat at the dinner table while my parents chatted about Miles's vision. How proud they were that he was taking risks. They never looked at me, not once. That was the first time I realised they weren't just letting me down. They were choosing him. They were investing in his future and calling mine optional. And it wasn't some cruel accident. It was a decision. It happened on a Tuesday night. I couldn't sleep, so I headed downstairs for a glass of water. The house was quiet except for this faint, muffled voice coming from Dad's office. His door was cracked open just enough for me to see him and Mom on a Zoom call. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then I heard my name. Cameron said she didn't need the fund, Dad was saying, voice calm, casual. She told us herself she wanted to support Miles's vision. I stopped breathing. She said, and I quote, Mom added with a soft chuckle, "What's money compared to someone chasing their dream?" Isn't she the sweetest? I stood frozen in the hallway. They were laughing, smiling, selling some story to a man on the screen, clearly a potential investor. And in that story, I wasn't the daughter they lied to. I was the heroic little sister who gave up her future to bankroll her brother's startup. I felt my legs go numb. They didn't just steal from me, they turned me into part of the pitch. A few days ago, I was crying alone in my room, wondering how to pay for used textbooks. And now apparently I was their character reference, their feel-good family story, a prop. And here's the worst part. I recognized the investor. He's a retired CEO that Dad's been trying to impress for years, which means they'd been planning this carefully. Every fake nod, every sigh, every "we're so sorry." It was scripted, practiced. I wasn't watching a betrayal. I was watching a performance. Back in my room, I didn't cry. I didn't throw things or scream. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, letting the silence stretch out like a second skin. My chest felt hollow, not because of the money, but because of the lie they crafted in my name. They didn't just choose Miles over me, they erased me and then used my face to polish his future. That night, something in me cracked. Not rage, not revenge, just this cold, clean clarity. I wasn't part of this family. Not really. I was just the girl in the background, useful, disposable, forgettable. And when they needed a story to sell, they used mine. I didn't speak to them for the next 2 days. Not because I was angry. I mean, I was. But this wasn't about rage. This was about clarity. Cold, clean, unshakable clarity. They had taken something from me. More than money. They'd taken the version of me that still believed in them. And now I was done playing quiet. What they didn't know was that the college fund wasn't the only thing Grandpa set up. Back when I was 15, Grandpa Walter started teaching me about money, real money. He never trusted my dad with finances, said it to my face. He told me about a separate custodial investment account, one only I could access once I turned 18. He made me promise never to mention it to anyone, especially not my parents. I hadn't touched it. I never thought I'd need to, but that night I logged in for the first time. And there it was, every contribution, every stock, every cent, still intact. I stared at the balance for a while, not excited, not even relieved, just focused. The next morning, I transferred every dollar into a new high-yield savings account at a completely different bank. Then I set up two-step verification, added a verbal passcode, and flagged the account for suspicious activity alerts. After that, I went straight to the old bank, where Mom and Dad still had co-ownership on my now-defunct college fund. I filed an account freeze and audit request. Since I was legally an adult, they couldn't stop me. That same night, Dad came storming into my room waving papers, his face red with panic. "What the hell did you do, Cameron?" I didn't even flinch. I just looked him in the eye and said, "I moved my money. The one Grandpa gave me, the one you didn't know about." He froze. "I'd suggest you don't touch anything else with my name on it, because next time I won't just freeze the account. I'll report everything to the bank and to Grandpa." He didn't say a word, just stared at me like I was some stranger who'd walked into his house with too much backbone. And maybe I was. Maybe I'd finally become the version of me they didn't recognize. I wasn't their safety net anymore. Not their easy daughter, not their excuse, just because they'd forgotten who I was. Didn't mean I had. I didn't plan to tell Grandpa. Not at first. It felt like dragging him into a mess he didn't deserve. But after watching that Zoom call replay in my head over and over again, after hearing them twist my name into some pathetic sob story to get funding for Miles, I couldn't keep it to myself. So I did it. I screenshotted everything. Emails, registration papers, even comments on social media where Mum bragged about family sacrifices. Then I sent them to Grandpa with a short note. "Figured you should know where your hard-earned money ended up." He called me less than 12 hours later. His voice was quiet, not shocked, not yelling, just sharp, like glass. "Thank you, Cam," he said. Then, "Leave the rest to me." I didn't ask questions. I knew what that tone meant. By the end of the week, I found out what "leave it to me" looked like. Grandpa had revised his estate, froze every shared account my parents had access to, launched a formal financial investigation into how my college fund had been drained without disclosure. And because that account was originally co-managed by Grandpa, and I was a minor when it was opened, the legal team called it what it was: misappropriation of educational funds. In short, fraud. Word travels fast when lawyers are involved. The investor Miles was courting pulled out immediately. His startup's business license was flagged, bank accounts frozen, lease revoked. And just like that, their shiny little dream went up in smoke. My phone started buzzing again. Mum, Dad, even Miles, all three of them now desperate to talk. Mum left a voicemail crying. Dad sent a long text about fixing this together. Miles emailed me something so pitiful it didn't even make me angry, just tired. I didn't respond. For the first time, I understood what real silence felt like. Not the kind where no one's talking, the kind where you choose not to answer. And somehow that was louder than anything I could have said. Move-in day came faster than I expected. I'd packed my things quietly, carefully, making sure everything was ready. No drama, no announcement, just transition. My best friend Ava offered to drive me. She showed up early, iced coffee in hand, excited like we were going to summer camp. I almost believed her energy, almost. Until my parents pulled up to the dorm. Mum stepped out in heels, holding a gift bag like we were brunching. Dad followed behind with a fake smile and that "we're still the parents" posture. Miles didn't come. Maybe that was the only smart decision he made. Cameron, Mom started, like nothing had happened. We just wanted to help you get settled, decorate, meet your roommate. I cut her off. No, I said, firmly but calmly. You don't get to do that. They blinked, confused, like I was being unreasonable. You don't get to show up and pretend you supported this, I continued. You gave away my future and made me the lie that sold his. Mom's eyes welled up. Dad looked around awkwardly, probably hoping no one heard. But I didn't care anymore. I turned to walk inside. Oh, and Miles? I paused, just loud enough for them to hear. I hope your pitch deck has a chapter on how to crash and burn, because from here, it's looking solid. And then I walked away. A few weeks later, Grandpa invited me over for Thanksgiving. Just the two of us. No pressure, no pretending. His house smelled like cinnamon and old wood. There were books on every surface and warmth in every corner. He made tea, handed me a folder of legal documents, trust info, finalised estate stuff, and a letter. Handwritten. You always had the strength. They just couldn't see it. But I did. I didn't cry because I needed his money. I cried because for the first time, someone had truly seen me. Not what I could give or what role I played, but me. Since then, I've built a new life, classes, new friends, an internship at a publishing house. I even started writing again, something I hadn't done in months. The bitterness didn't vanish overnight. But piece by piece, it faded. Not because I forgave them, but because I finally forgave myself for trusting the wrong people for too long. Have you ever had to walk away from people you thought would protect you? Drop a comment if you've ever been the quiet one who everyone assumed would be okay. You're not alone, and you're not weak for finally choosing yourself. This was my story. Maybe it's yours too. And if it is, I hope you write the ending you deserve.